Welcome, Colm, Feore, and Patrick Huard.
Hey,
Hi,
Tom.
bonjour.
Thanks for having us.
So, Patrick, I want to start with you. It's been 11 years since you starred in and you wrote Bon Cop, Bad Cop. Take me back to that time. Did you ever think, when you were writing it then, that you'd end up having a sequel all these years later?
No, and I never expected such a huge reaction and such a huge hit. I know we always talk in terms of box office. We talk about money in North America, but I'd rather picture it was 1.4 million people who went to see the movie in theaters. So, and then you add the DVD and all of that stuff in TV and CBC, like Colm says.
When the hockey's canceled, the movie's on.
Yeah, but
It's very true. It's
Yeah.
very true. Yeah, you're not wrong.
I never expected that.
Yeah.
No.
As soon as they get out of the playoffs, we watch Bon Cop, Bad Cop. That's exactly it. Colm, how about you? Did you have these kind of expectations going into this?
No, not at all. I mean, the first one we made, we just had a riot making it. It was great to have a good job that was fun. And, frankly, for me, coming from the classical theater, it was an unusual role. It was something that was actually going to be fun, and I recognized it might be funny, and that would be a good thing to be part of. So I was desperate to be in it.
Colm, did you feel that this was the right time to bring it back?
Like I had any choice?
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with me. Tom, I sit at home and wait for the phone to ring, right? But Patrick sits at home thinking, I'd like to invent a world.
Yeah.
And I'd like to write this. And I think it'd be funny to watch Colm as Squidward run through with maybe a gun and then dance like a white guy. And I'll just write that. Me, I just wait for the phone.
He's sitting home thinking, maybe Colm needs something to do.
Well,
Maybe he needs some work.
There's truth in that. And, it took him a long time, God knows, 11 years to get it together. But no, I had no expectations. And Patrick had said, I'm not going to come to Colm until I've got a completed screenplay that I've financed and people actually are going to do it. And then I'll show it to him. And so that's what he did. And it was obvious.
Why was this the right time, Patrick?
I thought it would. At a certain point, I was a bit frustrated that it was not sooner for a lot of reasons. And then when I started to write it, I was like, oh. It's so great that we have that gap because I felt more free to write, respect the DNA mythology of the first one, but then fly away from there also and go somewhere else and write different stuff that I wouldn't have written like 4, 5, 6 years ago. It was just the right timing, I think.
But did you feel any pressure? I mean, like you said, this is one of the most successful Canadian films of all time. It grosses all this money. It gets played all the time. It's a very, very well-known Canadian film. Did you feel any pressure in making the sequel?
Not while making it. When you're working on your craft, when you're creating this thing, I refused all of the pressure. Now I feel the pressure. Since we started the promotion.
Really?
Yeah, now I feel it because I cannot do what I do for a living anymore.
What do you mean?
Doing interviews is not it's not a job.
And it's not the reason you do it.
No. Hosting an interview show is a job.
Yeah.
Doing interviews is not a job. So I'm not doing my job right now. So all I have to do is stress about the results, but I'm not stressing about the box office and stuff like that. I feel the pressure about the audience that loved the first one so much. I don't want to ruin the memory of the first one, and I want to ruin what Bon Cop, Bad Cop was for them with a bad sequel. That's what stresses me out.
I want to play a little clip from the film. You wrote the first film 10 years ago, and a lot of the humor is in the differences between French and English Canada. And right off the top, I remember when that body is strewn on the border, you kind of knew what you were heading for when that happened. There's still a lot of that in the new film, but you've also added Americans into the mix. This is a short clip from the trailer for Bon Cop, Bad Cop 2.
Martin Huard, RCMP.
David Bouchard, Sûreté du Québec.
Who?
The Sûreté du Québec.
Okay, that was not French.
You were German?
Pretty sure it's Swedish. Yeah, like the Swedish chef on the Muppets. English British, thirsty dirty, smorgasbord.
That is a clip from Bon Cop, Bad Cop 2. Colm, Feore, and Patrick Huard. Colm, you like that one?
Every time that makes me laugh.
What do you think it is about the Canada-U.S. relationship that we find so funny?
Well, they often have a, we rule the world attitude, and that's perfectly understandable because most of the time they rule the world. Things are a little goofy at the moment, but it's the kind of arrogance and ignorance balance of not knowing quite where Canada is and who we are that we don't often make fun of. We don't have the courage to make fun of. Patrick, of course, being French and Québécois, doesn't care because, you know, he's not worried about whether or not his movie will be sold in Chicago.
Yeah, right.
Frankly, he's song,
Yeah.
as they say. And so he's...
I think we just went off the air at that moment, by the way.
You
That's
can believe that. But it gives him the advantage of being able to say, you know what, they make fun of us all the time. So, you know, from South Park on, blame Canada. We got to return the favor.
How about, Patrick, why was this the right time to start speaking about the Canada-U.S. relationship?
First of all, because I wanted this one to be really a friendship movie, and I didn't want to do exactly the same thing as we did the first time.
I was really happy to see you guys get along in this. I was so worried you wouldn't, to be honest. I was just so happy to see you guys so happy.
Yeah, for me, it would have been the same thing all over again if we would have done again the butting head together, and we needed to be somewhere else. So we also needed a common enemy, and the natural thing was making fun of the United States. And then again, I'm telling you, this I knew I wanted to do 7 years ago.
Right.
So I didn't know what would happen in the States and the reaction the Canadians would have right now. And I think it's so timely and so on par with what we feel right now as being Canadian. Like I said the other day, sometimes Francos and Anglos will go, you are like this, and blah, 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 blah. And right now, it's pretty much like, you know what, sometimes you still get on my nerve, but I'm so proud that you're my brother, and the cousin downstairs are staying downstairs.
Yeah, right.
You know, so it's kind of a good timing.
Colm, you've said that the comedy in Bon Cop, Bad Cop 2 is more sophisticated than in the past. What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, the first one we were a lot more gags, you know, some shtick, and it was funny and goofy because of those cultural differences. But Patrick comes from the world of stand-up comedy, and it's a very rigorous world where, you know, if stuff's not funny, you're dead. And so he built this script really like a Swiss watch of funny. Everything had to earn its keep. So if there's an action scene, it's got to still be funny. It's got to have a payoff. If there's anything that isn't, you know, that isn't going to pay off as funny, it's out. And so he trimmed all that fat. For us, it makes it a much more rigorous engagement in terms of the preparedness of it. And there's not a lot of jazz. We don't do a lot of improvising at all. We try to execute the script. And that's why I think the stuff is still funny. I laugh at that gag with the Sturgeberge, and when the car goes through and we can't quite get the car through and we actually rock forward thinking we're going to help. Stuff's just dumb, but Patrick spent years thinking, no, what's dumb but funny? And, you know, I trust him absolutely.
Well, what is the trick to the banter between you and Colm in this film? Because it is absolutely riveting the entire time. And oftentimes you're speaking in different languages.
But one of the things I'd say before Patrick answers that is that he's up to stakes. Because we're now friends, you go a bit farther. You know, you tell your friends the truth. Because we're closer now, I can actually hurt your feelings and know that we'll get over it.
And be... at a few times, like, brutally honest with each other. That's what you do with friends. And also, you feel that they became like the other a little more, spending all
They're
that time
cross-contaminated.
Yeah, absolutely. And that gives more depth to the characters and also to the movie. And at the end of the day, in the comedy as well, because it comes from a different place. When comedy comes from the heart and emotions, it makes you laugh like a very different way.
I wanted to ask a really kind of didactic question here. I wanted to ask about the subtitles a little bit because, as I mentioned, Bon Cop, Bad Cop in many ways was regarded as Canada's first, major bilingual film, and Bon Cop, Bad Cop 2, continues that. The subtitles I found very interesting because when you swore in French, it would show up with the swear word in French at the bottom of the screen, not translated to like a close approximation of what that swear word would mean in English. Was that intentional?
Absolutely.
It's public service.
I appreciate
it. No, it really
that.
is.
I learned
in the
so
first
much.
one, Patrick taught you how to swear in French, and in the second one, he teaches you how to spell it. And also, no, it's true. And some of it's the music. I mean, because it doesn't mean anything in Anglo-Canada, but is a musical sound. Like
again, we're off the air again. None of this is going out.
But it's very helpful. So Patrick was using the music of the language, also at the public service of saying how to spell it. But the other thing is saying, some stuff, it just doesn't translate. There's a reason that joie de vivre is a French phrase, right? And we don't say joy to life as Anglos.
And actually, you guys know exactly when we swear. You know it's swearing. So why putting a subtitle different. For me, it's kind of distracting, and I thought it was it was funnier to see it written on top of saying it. If you're going to offend some people, go all in.
You might as well go all in.
Yeah.
And I think we've achieved that this morning pretty well. Patrick, I know you screened the film in Montreal at about 10 theaters. You showed them both the original and the sequel. It was like a marathon of Bon Cop, Bad Cop. Why did you do that, and what was their reaction?
We wanted to do this because I truly believe that the movie belongs to the people. And we did the sequel for them. They took ownership of the first one, so I knew it was not my movie. It's their movie. And this time around, I really wanted them to understand that we did all of this for them, and they would be the first one to see the movie before the VIPs and everything. And I wanted it to be a party, a festive night, not a business night, just festive. And we were there all day. So we took probably 2 million selfies and talked with the people, food trucks, having a beer. And for me, it's also my way of saying that's also what it is, movies. It's not just serious stuff all the time. It can be just 2 hours of fun and sharing with the people you like to share those kind of moments with. We had father and son coming that day, brothers, 4 guys together, 5 girls together, and it's just a moment you can share with people you love and have a good laugh, and for me it's really important.
I mean, I think about this a lot. I think about the reactions from audiences. And Colm, I mean, after spending so much of your life on stage, you have the benefit of hearing a response from an audience at the end of a performance. But when you're on a film set, when you're doing a television show and a radio show, you're not able to get that kind of immediate feedback. So what's it like to be in the theater and hear that reaction from fans?
You know, it's very gratifying. It shows that we were doing the right kind of work on the set. Patrick's always said, look, if everybody's laughing on the set, we've made a mistake.
Yeah, because you could be making it in a bubble in some ways.
Well,
when
yeah,
you're
but
on set.
he's also said, everybody here read the script. They all know what's going on. So if there's something new and fresh, improvised, they all laugh. And we all think, well, that's really funny. It's not funny, and it deviates from the plan. When we execute the plan and then show up and people laugh in ways that were unexpected or more than, or laugh exactly as Patrick planned, that is fantastic. And it shows you that being prepared and professional is really the way to go. My ego doesn't need you to laugh at me every 5 takes, and
that's it.
You got to get out of it if that's what you need.
Your audience is on the other side of the camera, but it has to go through the camera, not around the camera, so you can seduce all of your friends.
Has there been any American reaction yet?
Yeah, my manager came up from LA when we were in Vancouver, and she lost her. I can't say that on radio either. Yeah, she was very pleased.
Actually, the American consul,
American consul, yes,
she was in Montreal with her husband,
who's RCMP,
who's a former RCMP, and she just loved it. She's a politician. That's what she told me afterwards. But it seemed genuine. She had fun.
That's the extent of our need for an American reaction. Because no, honestly, I would go to the States. I work in the States. I'm happy to, delighted to be a part of whatever's going on there. But when people say, well, Bon Cop, I heard about it. How did it do in the States? And I said, it didn't. And it didn't need to.
No, it doesn't have to.
Well, because look, it cost X to make, and it made Y. We're done here. And we're not even interested in the money. We're talking about the response from people. And it tells a story about us for us. This is the story of us without the complaints.
Yeah. So before I let you go, Bon Cop, Bad Cop 3?
First, this one, people need to like this one, and then we'll see. But do I have a few ideas? For sure.
I think Canada, Newfoundland. What do you think?
You know what? And that there would be a grant for filming there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And my dad and his wife live in a nice
You know,
place.
you can just stay. You can
And
stay.
it's
You
beautiful.
guys can stay with my mom. It'll be great.
Hey,
we can all hang out. Patrick Huard and Colm Feore, thanks so much for coming in.